Alright, so let me give a quick review and revision to this whole petition thing that Rainbow Six Siege, or a specific part of the Rainbow Six community, has going on, revolving around the operator Lion that came from Operation Outbreak. This is some petition that some pro players supposedly have started in order to remove said operator from the barracks over an unnecessary sense of controversial perspective. I'm going to sit here and review this revision that was given by a Joe Parsec of Forbes Gaming, and then once I'm done here, I want you guys to weigh in on this. So, without further ado, now the G2 Sports team captain Fabian started this petition to remove an operator from the game entirely after months of complaints about the overpowered nature from all levels of play that have finally hit a fever pitch. Lion, who was introduced in Operation Chimera, who has been the target of criticism since his introduction, mainly due to his ability to scan the entire map and easily locate moving targets. As an attacker, he can effectively shut down the entire defensive team's ability to roam and collect information, as the risk of being pinged by his drone is simply too great a risk. Currently, the only way to avoid having your location shown, well, entirely anyway, to the team is for just standing still for a couple of vital seconds at a time. It only takes maybe 2 or 3 seconds out of your whole roaming, whatever bullshitting thing you're doing, in order to just stand still for a couple of seconds and you're fine. So, continuing my reading here of Forbes magazine. As Fabian mentioned on Twitter, the result of this is that the defense is much more likely to simply hole up in one place, like a scared chicken, quote-unquote. Siege's enjoyment lives and dies on clutch wins and unexpected plays, and Lion is considered by much of the community to be anti-ethical to that. Quote, "Man, I don't miss playing with or against Lion. First time in 3 months. He is horrible. It is so sad that one player has such a massive impact on the way you have to play. It makes you not take any risks and sit there like a scared chicken." October 11th, 2018. This was a few days ago. End quote. It is also worth noting that Lion has one of the biggest, highest ban pick rates of any operator in the competitive scene, as the Paris Majors in August, which G2 had won. He had a whopping 63.9 ban rate, being beaten only by the defender operator Mira, which was the second highest ban considered at that time for an attacker, and then following with Glass. The community has suggested potential nerfs for Lion, such as limiting the pings only to Lion instead of the rest of the team, or give the defense a way to counter or outright destroy the drone. Some players believe Lion should be the attacker's equivalent of Pulse, a decent operator for location but with severe limitations that require constant communications with their team. At the time of writing, the petition has received 1,100 signatures in the 1 hour it has been live. While it is unlikely the calls for removal are genuine, it's big actions by high-profile players like this that are most likely to attract UBISOFT's attention. So expect big overhauls to Lion in the not-so-distant future. That there ends the citation here from the Forbes magazine post. Now, while I wish to challenge the competent combative perspective of this build creator and quote-unquote pro player, as it were, not including the hundreds of other players across the platform that seem to have a sudden problem with something they can't seemingly counter very well, or can't counter at all now, especially as Lion is barely even played in the season's current rushing meta. I'm not going to sit here and sling mud at different views, since we've all been playing games with different views to them. Instead, I'll address a quick fact that I noted in this forums posting, and then I'll leave it to you guys, the viewers, and your thoughts, which you can kindly post down below at your leisure, in order to help weigh in on both sides of the fence, either which way this goes. So, starting with his drone and his ability, let me tell you about Lion's gadget here. It's never inside any objective, it's never inside any building, it's always above the map location. It's always above the map location. It always hovers above the map. It doesn't shadow anybody, it can't shadow anybody, and for the most part it genuinely doesn't move. There, that little thing up there, that's Lion's drone. Only when there is a Lion, either on the team or alive period, is when it's useful at all towards its defining purpose in pinging enemy players that roam or move in order to assist the team. Next, point 2. While there is no range limitation, it is a double-edged sword of an ability, because it can help and hurt both sides equally, as you have a very fair warning before it triggers. It gives you plenty of time to do whatever it is you're going to do to counteract, because you have to think on your feet right there at that moment with what tools you have to work with. When you're on the offensive side, it gives you an idea of where the enemy is, if they're close by or about to be close by or within shooting range. And if you're on the defensive team, it gives you an idea on how close or how far said person or persons may be from your location, depending upon how far you are from objective or from another player. That's the realistic part of it. Point 3 is that his ability is a team-oriented ability, not a predominantly self-benefiting ability. And lastly is point 4. Now, in a past update that had happened, it was either before Parabellum or before the operation before that one, I cannot recollect at this time. Lion was already nerfed in a past patchwork from what was changed from his 3 activation cycles down to 2 activation cycles respectively. There's only ever going to be 2. Also, there's a longer cooldown time for his devices to be used now. So amidst those 2 and only those 2 activations, there's a much longer time in which to activate the abilities. The patchwork I just said makes it a lot less realistic in the sense of echolocation, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about what's real and not real in a realistic-ish video game that's suddenly becoming less realistic over time with more gimmicks over actual skill-based mechanics. But anyway, amidst those 4 points, those are just a few particular factual observations that I wanted to point out that revolves around Lion and how to generally perceive the operator's use and usefulness on a team or with his own individual actions. Please weigh your thoughts in down below about this petition as well. I'd like to get the responses of a lot of people all over the internet out there and how you feel about Lion either being nerfed again or being removed from Rainbow Six Siege altogether, if this catches enough steam, which I doubt that it will, but a lot of shit in life is possible nowadays, so you never know. Anyway, weigh your thoughts in below when you can, viewers. Peace.